most we can do for this player is 50,000, and the agent says we need 55,000, you say, I'm sorry, a few weeks ago, and you go, there's no chance they can win this game. Full disclosure, it's just hard to watch right now because the team was poor.
It's impossible to participate in soccer discourse right now without hearing about the billionaires, the oligarchs, oil barons, and American celebrities investing tons of money into their clubs. Is this the only way for clubs to be successful in the modern game? Today, we're sitting down with USMNT legend Landon Donovan, who is currently involved in Lincoln City, top of League One right now, to see what smaller clubs are doing to be successful and if smaller clubs can compete with the big boys. Let's get into it. Can small clubs compete in the modern game?
No, but not in a Premier League kind of sense, if that makes sense. I think you can go from, say, your National League, he says wearing a National League shirt, to League Two, to League One, to Championship quite comfortably. But then when you talk about getting to the top levels of the game, I think then it gets really difficult.
Raheem, what do you think?
I would say I agree with Tom, but I also say that this is also why it's kind of better for MLS because any team could win at any moment. The parity actually helps MLS because it doesn't matter if you're a top team MLS, you could be the bottom of the league the next year. You know?
Yeah. I mean, Landon, you're involved in the English football pyramid.
Yeah,
in
so
England, what do you think?
Are you talking specifically with player spending, or are you saying infrastructure, stadium,
Everything.
all the things?
All of the above.
If you don't have all of the above, I don't think you can compete. I think but you can spend on players much lower than you need to, or than people think they need to, and still be successful. Absolutely. But ultimately, to your point, in the Premier League, if you don't have the facilities and the infrastructure and the stadium and the revenue, you can't compete. No.
Right, yeah. All right, so you're involved with Lincoln City, and I'm just going to read out some stats here based on the current season. Currently first in League One, seeking the first promotion to the championship since 1961, I think, so however many years that is. You guys are on 84 points with a plus 40 goal difference, which is just blowing everybody else out of the water. It would be the first promotion since 1961, and you guys currently, or at some point during the season, were on a club record 22 league game unbeaten streak.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing that? Because you're currently 17th in budget expenditure on transfers.
I'm gonna say we, but it's a very small we because it's they do all the work.
Yeah.
I have. Let me just take you the backstory. I went to a Padre game in San Diego.
Yeah.
And I met a lovely, lovely family there that was in this box that I was in, and a gentleman named Harvey Jabara, and he and I got talking, and he was just one of those human beings you connect with. And he said, hey, I don't mean to be rude or whatever. This was after speaking for an hour. He's like, my son is over there. He's 15. Do you mind saying hi? And I'm like, of course I'll say hi. So I met this kid, lovely kid. Long story short, I got to know the family very well. Harvey is a very small investor in the Padres.
Yeah.
And he said, if you ever come across anything in the soccer world, I would be interested in being part of a club. And I said, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, it's like, hold on.
And so one day, an agent that I was working with when I was coaching San Diego Loyal said, hey, there's a team in England, Lincoln City, and they're interested in finding some investors. So I sent it to Harvey. We spoke to Clive Nates, who is the longtime chairman. We spoke to Liam, who's the CEO. We spoke to Jez, who runs all the football. And all of us just connected immediately. Like, we fell in love with each other and what the stories were on all the sides. Harvey became an investor. I invested a very, very small amount. Harvey became the lead investor at some point, and we've all been involved ever since. So that's the background on Lincoln City.
Yeah, love that. What do you?
Go ahead.
What are you guys doing that is leading to that success right now?
I'm gonna say I'm saying we,
Yeah.
but this is the main thing. The chairman he's South African.
Yeah.
He cares deeply about the club, and it's always the Clive Nates. He puts the club ahead of everything. In order to be successful to this level, we're top of the league, I think by 7 points right now, maybe, and on the verge of getting automatic promotion soon here. You have to get everything right along the way, right? And people say, oh, maybe it's lucky or it's this. Lincoln City spends the 17th most in the league.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? So the bottom third of the league in spending, and they're top of the table by a lot of points. Jez, who runs the football side, has gotten almost every signing right. The head coach, Michael Scubala, has done a phenomenal job. And it's a group of mature players who are playing consistently. They've sort of turned the clock back a little bit in modern football now. It's the Pep effect, right? Where
Yeah.
everybody thinks they can play this way.
Not everybody can play out of the back. You gotta know your
In
limits
fact,
there.
almost nobody can.
Yeah.
Right. And so Lincoln City have very good on set pieces, elite on set pieces.
Yeah.
I think across the EFL, #1 in set piece goals. Very good defensively, and then actually last or close to last in possession and passes completed, which
Now
is
we're talking.
which is unique.
Sounds like proper.
So now look, is there a way where you can marry all of it
Yeah.
at the Premier League level? Because you probably have to if you're gonna but at this level in this way, the team's been fantastic, and it's just so fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
Well, what's quite interesting though, and we can get nerdy in terms of tactics and stuff if you want, but we've seen that from teams in the past, haven't they? Maybe playing what you would say like more old-fashioned football as a way to just, I don't know, rise and get through your divisions, right? Because if everyone tries to play the sexiest thing, then maybe it works to a point, but then you end up going
Yeah, but
down.
there's a place for both, right? You can do that. And some of the teams, like Cardiff, who are second, are more of that style, more modern in that way. And it's not that Lincoln City don't play football, because I watch the games. And I will say this, full disclosure, there were a couple years along the way over the last 5 or 6 where I would call Harvey and I'd say, man, this is hard to watch right now. Because the team was poor. I would say it's hard to watch, because the team,
like the quality, not the
just
quality.
the team was poor. The ideas were poor. Since Michael Scubalo's come on, they're direct and vertical initially, but then like some really good players. Like Conor McGrandles he's a midfielder you guys won't have heard of, but he might be the best player in the
might be
league.
his best friend.
Rain's like, nah, my cousin actually went to school with the guy who knew his sister. Yeah.
But he's a really talented footballer. So initially there's an idea of being direct play in that part of the field, but then there's some really good players who are having fantastic seasons.
So we were talking with Lucas, one of the PR managers for the club, for everybody watching, and he said that they play an air raid siren in the stadium every time there's a corner or like a long throw or set piece. Which, Tom, I would just like to say that I would like to implement that for our 7-a-side league that starts this week.
That's great.
And if any of our girlfriends want to bring like the crank air raid siren, sitting in Bushwick Inlet Park, and
That'd be actually really fun.
that's a shout, and then you lose 3-0.
yeah.
That'd actually be really good.
All right, Landon, what are the club's goals? Like, if you could do anything within reason, what do you guys want to accomplish?
So lower league football is interesting because there's a little bit of be careful what you wish for. So a couple of years ago, we were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And Harvey was the chairman at the time, and the gentleman I know. And we had a conversation one day, and I said, Harvey, you know that when you go up, you got to spend a lot more money.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I know. And maybe money that he doesn't have, right? And so there's this tricky element to promotion relegation that people don't understand. When you get promoted, you then have to have the funding to support that. And I can only speak generally here, but going from League One to the Championship, my guess is the wage bills increase 3 or 4 or 5 times in the next division, right? And most owners in EFL clubs lose money, right? Either a small amount or a bigger amount if you're a Wrexham or a Birmingham or Ipswich or some of these teams that are spending like crazy. But I mean, it's a daunting task. So to answer your question, what is the goal? The goal now, with Ron Fowler now as part of it, who's also was a former owner of the Padres, it feels like there's enough capital and funding to support it, because the last thing you want to do is go up and come down.
Yeah.
Right? This is such an amazing season, and you want this to be a catalyst for what's next, not to come back down.
Yeah.
You hear that with the Championship playoffs a lot, didn't you? Was it Sunderland either last year or the year before? Or when there was almost a concern about them getting promoted. I was listening to a podcast, and quite a prominent journalist who's also a Sunderland fan was like, best day of my life, but I'm also terrified.
Yeah.
Scared as man.
No, it's true, because and when you go from the Championship to the Premier League, I mean, your spending increases a ton. Now, look, of course, you receive a lot of funding too, but a lot of those clubs lose money, right? So now it's like, instead of losing £1 million a year, you're losing 15 or 20. That's a whole different ballgame.
What's the quote that's like the fastest way to go from a billionaire to a millionaire is to buy a football club? I'm cracking up at the San Diego connection with Lincoln, because I can imagine that they're pretty different places in a lot of fronts. I read a story about how the Lincoln first team came to San Diego to train for something, and I'm just imagining those guys like trying al pastor tacos for the first time and being like, "Well, hold on."
Well, a group of the front office came a few years ago to San Diego. And the smiles on their faces when they see the sun every day is just amazing.
We
right?
don't have to be vitamin D.
But I will say
deficient.
this: the interesting thing about Lincoln and it's why we've connected well, is the people are phenomenal. Honestly, it's like if you could draw up how you want a fan base to act, they're passionate, but they're not crazy. They're not booing the team. They're not
Right.
psychotic. They just love their town, and they've come to really love this football club, and it's so fun for someone who loves this sport. It's so fun to see.
Yeah, that's sick. All right, so you talk a little bit about like unique tactics, recruitment strategy, stuff like that. I'm curious. I want to get your guys' take too. Like, what does it take to be successful in the modern game as a small club when you're playing against these big clubs that have bigger expenditures than you?
What do you guys think?
Oh, I think 100% it comes down to scouting and
Yeah.
incorporating a system, because at the end of the day, you do not have, just like Landon was saying, you won't have the money to compete with the biggest of clubs. So your next best bet is to make sure that you're getting players from maybe like the lower leagues that may not be as well known, but who are able to produce results at that level. And I think that's why it's so big for these clubs to kind of have like an ethos or a thesis to kind of follow, because what I see a lot of clubs happen is like an American owner will come in, or an owner with big money will come in, and they just want to come in and spend, but there's no plan set forward, and they're just spending money until when that money's gone, and all of a sudden the club is right back where they came from.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing for these clubs when they're investing in this money is how are they spending it, what type of players they want to buy, what kind of system are they going to play. And credit to Lincoln City, even though it might not be the most attractive style of football right now, it's getting them where they need to be, and then they might be able to switch. You never know when they have those quality players.
For me, it's about systems and infrastructure, right? It's about having everything in place so that you can build a sustainable model and then spend money selectively. This is kind of stealing from Moneyball a little bit, isn't it? But like the idea that if someone else goes, you have someone ready to step in, and you have a whole, I guess, literally a whole system in place so that you can move on and move on and move on. I mean, I suppose on a bigger stage, if you will, higher division, like you look at Brighton, you look at Cov City, who are probably going to get promoted to the Prem this year. They have kind of a similar ethos in that their spend isn't massive, but the whole thing's in there so that they lose a player, then they go back in. Like your best friend, Haji Wright, he could leave.
Haji Wright mentions. USMNT mentions.
Yeah, and they'll be all right in a way, right? That there's this sense of being able to replace things.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so important.
You gotta have a little bit of a thesis, or just
And
like
then-
a reason for
sure.
And
for
then-
being. Yeah.
I suppose there's an element, and I wonder what you think here, Landon, there's an element of taking a risk as well. Like maybe a risk on some signings or thinking a little bit outside the box. Like I think with Leicester a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's like, N'Golo Kante who? You know what I mean? Like there's like an element of maybe, thinking about innovatively if possible.
It's the word is identity, and you have to have an identity.
Right.
And the clubs that have an identity and stick to it, and then have infrastructure that supports it, data that supports it, scouting that supports it, Brentford's a great example. Brighton's a great example.
Yeah.
Even Everton, like not as forward
You sure?
thinking. No, well, not as forward thinking as those clubs, right? Or as modern thinking. But they have an identity now with Moyes back, right? Like this is how we play, and it is what. And look, you look at their squad on a game day against Chelsea a few weeks ago, and you go, "There's no chance they can win this game." 3-0. So Lincoln City, there were a few years in the early years where I would have this conversation with Jez, with Harvey, and I would say, it's not whether I like or agree or disagree. I don't see an identity in this team.
Interesting.
And when I watch this year, the identity is very clear, and it comes from the sporting director, and the head coach is on board, and then you get the players that fit that identity. And I think Brighton is maybe the best example in the Premier League. It's like coaches are coming and going all the time. Next one successful. Players coming and going. Next one successful.
One thing that really resonates with American sports fans is that like idea of identity for your team, especially in college sports.
Definitely.
I know March Madness is going on right now, but like Michigan plays a certain way, and they're really fucking good at playing that way. Like
That's right.
UConn had the crazy comeback yesterday. They play a certain way, and they stick to that style.
That's right.
So people are like, I love the way that this team plays. Also helps for fan recruitment, which we're going to get into that in a little bit, talking about EFL growth in the U.S. But I'm curious. Obviously, the money thing is a disadvantage, right? If you're talking about small clubs versus big clubs. But are there any advantages that you guys have as a smaller club that you can use that bigger clubs might not have?
The biggest advantage, I learned this at San Diego Loyal. So our first year when I was coaching in USL, the team we were really competing against was Phoenix. Phoenix was spending about $1.5 million on their roster, and we were spending $500,000 on
Yeah.
our roster. So in theory, they can get players that are 3 times better. But what happens when you have more money is you spend it more freely. And when you don't have as much money, you have to be really sure that you're getting the right player. Again, Everton's a great example with David Moyes. Really sure you're getting the right player. And you can't overspend. So if you go, the most we can do for this player is 50,000, and the agent says we need 55,000, you say, I'm sorry, I can't. Phoenix would pay him 80.
Yeah.
No problem,
That's
right? So
interesting.
the big advantage is if you have the right people, you make sure that you stick to your spending very, very clearly. Let me give you a story with Moyes, right? So I went on loan to Everton twice, 2010 to 2012. I didn't know this till after, but he told me, I was in his office right before I came back to the Galaxy, and he said, I said, why did you come to me? Like, of all players you found or whatever, like, you could bring anybody in, right? And he said, we played an all-star game in the U.S. And it was Everton against the U.S. All-Stars, MLS All-Stars.
Yeah.
And I came in like the 70th minute, and he said, I watched you play in a game that meant nothing. The game was nothing ever. Like the Everton players were probably drunk and like that. Like nobody cared.
They're like, I can't wait to go out after this. Like,
MLS All-Star.
And he
race,
said,
but-
I watched you that day, and the way you cared about that game told me like everything I needed to know. And he said, I scouted you multiple times in person. I was like,
you're like, oh, you
He
were the
knew-
guy in the trench coat. And like the
yeah, with the
fake glasses.
glasses.
Yeah.
No, but think about it. I was coming on loan for 3 months.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a blip in the radar, and he was scouting me personally. Think about what he was doing for Mero and Fellaini or
Right.
Tim Howard. Or imagine the diligence he was doing.
Yeah. He's like posted up outside their house.
I mean, he was totally. I mean, he was all in on every signing like that, and it just blew my mind.
Do you remember how you did in that All-Star game? How'd you
No.
play?
I don't know. Probably.
We gotta bring that style back, by the way, when they would bring a Prem or big European team over and
I
then
loved
play
it.
against the All-Stars.
I loved
That's
it.
like peak.
The last time they had it was like a couple years ago. They played Arsenal but got rinsed.
That's probably, they're like,
That's why they don't do
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
it's
that's
hard
probably
for
why
an
it's
all-star
hard.
team
Yeah,
to
you
play
guys
against
have-
a real team.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like
You
you
never play
really-
together. Yeah,
Yeah.
Together.
it's hard.
It's tough, man.
I suppose you taught to almost not like each other, right? And then you've got to get
In
together
some
and
cases,
then,
yeah.
And then just get together and play Arsenal, who are at the time. I mean,
Exactly.
crap
You're
now.
all right.
Yeah, that wasn't even like prime Arsenal right now.
That was Arsenal a couple years ago. That back in DC, because I remember because Trusty was still at Arsenal at the time.
Oh yeah.
You got to play a couple minutes that game, and I was like, salute, bro.
Yeah, you're like, that's my guy. Yeah. All right, what does success mean for you guys? And we talked about like the goals going up. It's tough to go up and stay there, but like, again, going back to the U.S. fans thing, so many American sports fans do not consider anything success unless you win. Like, yeah, we got to the playoffs. Like, I'm a Knicks fan, right? The Knicks haven't won anything my entire life. Like, yeah, we get to the Eastern Conference Finals and then like lose on a ridiculous shot, which still like haunts me to this day. But it's like, yeah, it was a good season, but it only would have really been great if they won. I feel like in England and in football in general, like if we finish third or second, whatever, like that's a good season. So from your perspective, like at the club, what does success mean to you?
I asked Liam, who's the CEO, that, and he said, well, first of all, having a sustainable club that the fans are proud of as a starting point. And I thought, like, that's a great North Star to have. Be sustainable, because you see a lot of clubs overspend and get relegated, or overspend and go out of business or have problems. So being a sustainable club, and then that the city and the fans are proud of. That's just a general
Like
statement.
the baseline.
But-
to have it, yeah.
Sports are about expectations. So when the best metric to use in sports is where do you finish based on what you spend.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing, because when it all comes down to it, that's what everyone's doing. They're spending. Look at the Dodgers, right?
Yeah.
The Dodgers are expected to win the World Series because they're
Right.
spending a gazillion more dollars than
700
everybody.
million on one
Right.
contract.
So
yeah.
getting to the World Series is not okay for them.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Pirates, who are spending a fraction of that,
Yeah.
if they got to the playoffs, it's like the biggest miracle ever, right?
Right.
So the metric of success for Lincoln City is what I told you overall, but I don't think anybody expected to be top of League One.
Yeah.
But I think everyone expected to be competitive, mid-table, maybe make a push towards the playoff spots and see. Because if you're spending 17th and you do that, you're still succeeding by a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, everybody has blown it out of the water there. right? So the expectations maybe change a little bit, but the reality is for next season, and that's all you can speak about when you have promotion relegation,
You're
is
right.
surviving and
Yeah.
staying in the league is absolutely has to be the expectation.
One thing that always interests me about this is that in American sports, right, you can reach a certain point of the year and go, that was a success.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
What do you
if
mean?
Like, if you're, use your example as the Pirates, right? If they make the playoffs, that's unbelievable.
Oh, right.
There's no real equivalent necessarily in football, at least in my opinion. Like, so what? There are 24 teams in League One. Let's say that 6 to 7 are hoping they're not getting relegated. 10 to 12 will feel they're in some way, shape, or form make playoffs, what have you. Then there's a lot of stuff in between. So when you talk about mid-table clubs in English football or in football worldwide, like there are a lot of teams who just don't have sort of anything to play for.
Right.
And the thing that always struck me as a fan of any sport, of any team, it's about the journey. It's like, it's not necessarily, and this sounds a bit like football romanticism, but it's not necessarily about the result at the end of it, but it's about like the waking up every Saturday morning and thinking, this game means a lot, right? Like, I'm not a Crystal Palace fan, but like that was.
Speaking of a club that just kind of
Well,
sits
no,
there.
they finished
right.
12th. They finished 12th or 13th every year, and what was it, May or June? May is the FA Cup final, right? They're the best day of their lives, all of them.
Yeah, that's sick. Absolutely love that for them.
Yeah, that's
Tom,
right.
This is how I know that you didn't grow up in the U.S. in your earlier stages. Because I remember my dad went to Purdue, right? So I'm a huge Purdue basketball fan. And that is a team that's really good, and then they lose every year consistently when they shouldn't. So I was like 6 years old. I was like, damn it, we're never going to get there. It's like there's no such thing as like, yeah, that was all right.
Do you guys think there's a belief in Landon? You might have an opinion on this, but is there a belief that there might be a thing of going up too early? What if, like, let's say if your club wasn't really ready to go up, but
Yeah, I
you guys
do.
go up anyway?
Yeah, Raheem, it's what I said earlier is if you financially aren't prepared, for sure, you can go up too early. That's a for sure. From a footballing standpoint, probably not, because not a lot of the players, a decent amount of players will change regardless, right? So like the interesting process now is what players stay as you go up. And that's a really unique, what players stay as you go down. I mean, what happens if Spurs go down?
Yeah.
They're
Right?
wage bill,
And
they're
so-
cooked.
No, right. How do you pay all those guys?
Well, how
when
do
you're
you
making
pay them?
this
How do you
money?
get out of contracts? Who do you say, I need you to stay? Because, by the way, we need to come back up, right? So there's all these factors that go in. But, yeah, I think from a financial standpoint, it's a good question. Like, I would say a couple of years ago, probably would have been too early for Lincoln City. Now I would say is the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
Tom?
How do you imagine those? And I know you're operating a little bit from afar, but how do you imagine those conversations go? With the lads to the sporting director and the club and that kind of thing.
I don't have inside info on that. I mean, I speak to Jez quite often, but you have to be brutally honest. And so a guy who is, let's say, started 38 games this year, is not going to be starting games in the championship, and you know it if you're Jez or Michael Scubal, the manager. You have to have a conversation and say, look, we want you to be part of the squad. I can't promise you how many games you're playing. You're not playing 38. You might start 10. You might start 15. I mean, it's a hard league. I think it's the hardest league in the world to play in the championship.
Like a meat grinder.
It's the worst.
Yeah. It's just like
and so
hard.
you just have to be brutally honest. And if the player says, look, yes, and maybe I can make a little bit more money, but I want to play every game, maybe you stay in League One and go to a different club. But you just have to have a really honest conversation.
Yeah. That honesty is good, though. And I feel like the players definitely appreciate that as well. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
Much
you-
prefer that over like telling me what I want to hear and then not being the case.
Right.
That's what always interests me as well, because as a footballer, like what do you accept? Hey, you're at this high level, you ain't playing, but if you stick at a lower level, quote unquote, then you're starting every game. Like I imagine some of your transfer activity, right? You brought lads down from the championship or what have you in order to flesh out your squad a little bit, and maybe those guys are sold on the dream of playing more, right?
Well, what's interesting is, I'd be curious to hear what you guys think, but I learned this when I was coaching in USL. British players, and actually players from around the world, understand and appreciate and are at peace with playing in a lower division because it's normal. So playing in the championship, or if you can't make it to the Premier League, you can't, and you can still play. In America, it's like MLS or nothing for a long time. So you would get American players in USL who would be like, I should be playing in MLS. I'm better than that guy. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're here for a reason.
Right.
Right? But our English players would be like ecstatic to be playing football, making a living, and they know they're not good enough to play. But there's more of a realism there.
That's also such
really
like,
interesting.
American sports. Like, you got to be number one.
Well,
Well,
it's,
first, you're
it's
last.
American culture, right, in
Yeah.
general, which is the beauty of America, but also sometimes the downfalls.
Yeah.
We think we can do everything, we're the best at everything, and that's what creates some of the things we create that are,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs or inventors or whatever. But then a lot of people, there's an unrealistic view, and you see it with parents and their kid, like,
Yeah.
he's going to be playing with Messi. I'm like, no, he's
Like,
not. He's not even going to go. He's not going to college, like.
Would you say that happens is though because the guys who come from England and Europe, they're kind of content with being in the position they are because they're playing in America anyway, so they knew they weren't good enough at home?
Maybe, but I think it's more
And
they
then-
just understand that there are levels.
Yeah.
And for a long time, we don't have like a structured hierarchy still here. And sometimes USL thinks they're going to compete with MLS, and in England it's just more known. Like Championship knows they're not the Premier League, and
Yeah.
League One knows they're not the champion. And the guys, they get that.
What's like the difference between like the starting American 25-year-old on a USL team versus like the bench player of a USL team who makes 60,000? Like, is there that much of a difference in ability?
Not necessarily.
So wouldn't it make sense that they would want to play in MLS then if it wasn't that much of a difference between like them starting in USL and like they see someone who's making like the minimum in MLS and they're pretty
Yeah.
much the
So
same?
no. So that level is very similar.
Okay.
Right.
So there were a lot of guys. That's a great question. There were a lot of guys on Loyal who could be on MLS rosters.
Yeah.
They would never play, almost never.
Yeah.
And they'd probably make the same amount of money, 80 grand, 100 grand.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Right.
I would always say, it's just me. I would say, guys, are you a soccer practicer or are you a soccer player?
Yeah.
Do
That's
you want
good.
to play soccer
Yeah.
or do you want to go sit on a bench and say, I'm on an MLS team? Like, who
Yeah.
cares?
Mhm.
Right? But and we would see it all the time. 23-year-old would go, no, I want to go do. Okay. They'd go there for a year, wouldn't play, and then they'd call and say, I want to come back. I want to play.
Yeah.
Okay, I told you so,
Yeah.
What do
So
you
it
say?
hits.
What do you say if you get that phone call then from a? And I know we're getting sidetracked at that point.
Depends on the
but, like,
situation.
really?
Depends on how they left,
Yeah,
honestly,
fair
how
enough.
they handled it.
You're like, if
But-
I like them, I'll be like, all right, come back. Yeah.
I mean, if they can
Decent
still
lad.
help the team, I
Yeah.
get that. And oftentimes they come back very humbled,
Right.
Which is a good player to have.
Yeah, definitely. All right, this is the last thing before we get a little bit back on track, but I'm curious because we had a conversation a couple weeks ago where we were talking about if the MLS was at a better level than the championship. So someone who played in MLS for a long time and knows the ins and outs of the EFL, which league do you think is better?
I think they're pretty similar, to
Yeah.
be honest. Because of the South American influence in MLS, I
Yeah.
think there are technically some better quality players. Athletically, the championship's better. It's so physical. Like, that league is so physical. So I'm not sure MLS teams could go there and succeed over 46 games because
Interesting.
it's
Huh.
really difficult
Yeah.
physically. But I think they're pretty similar. I mean, we've seen numbers of guys go either from here to there or there to here. Josh Sargent here, Ajamong there, Haji Wright. Well, he wasn't MLS, but and they're doing fine there. And these are at good clubs,
Right, yeah.
So I think they're pretty similar, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
You-
kind of what we decided.
I was going to say, you
Yeah.
haven't settled any Instagram debates
Yeah.
that we've been having there, mate.
It's hard. That's one of the impossible things when you're coaching. And like we would, the example is we were thinking about bringing a player from Finland.
Okay.
We don't at USL. We have no idea what the comp is. Like if he's going to be
Right,
the best
yeah.
player in the league, not the. So we ended up not signing a Finnish player, and the same player went to Sac Republic in our league.
Yeah.
He was okay. Like he was kind of bang average. He was the second or third best player in Finland. And so now we can go, okay, we got that comp. Like we know
Yeah.
what that looks like. We're a little bit better than the Finnish league in USL.
Yeah. All right. When we were doing some research for this episode and talking about like underdog teams and smaller clubs, how does a underdog team like that sustain that success over the course of a season? We're talking like on the pitch.
Well, it just seemed like, and I will not claim to be a tactical genius. I would like to start it with that. But it kind of seemed like they had a few sort of unicorn players
Yeah.
and a system that no one could really cope with. It was 4-4-2. It was really solid. You had N'Golo Conte, who had like 7 lungs. You had Mahrez, who was a creative player, probably the best creative player in the league, not named Eden Hazard, right? And even then you could... Jamie Vardy's just running in straight lines and finishing at an unbelievable rate. And it just seemed like they sustained that in a way that maybe other teams hadn't been able to. But because there wasn't such a solid system, such a sustainable system and such a way of approaching it, it seemed like they were always going to fall apart once their bigger clubs pinch their players, if you will.
Yeah.
It just kind of seemed like, a fairy tale, like a completely unmanufactured. I don't want to say it's a fluke. I am not
So that was
saying
gonna
it
be
was
my
a
next
fluke.
question. Is that like
but,
reputable or?
but it just seemed like the stars aligned.
It's not repeatable because eventually teams figure you out.
Yeah.
Right.
But what was amazing about that season, and it's actually similar to Lincoln City this year, is why has nobody figured out how to play against?
So-
Why did nobody figure out
Yeah.
how to, like, they were content to just sit, defend, be scrappy, and then bang. And they got moments where Mara's isolated or Jamie Vardy countering, and then they'd score.
Yeah.
And nobody figured out, like, maybe we should just sit off a little bit and see if they can actually break us down.
Yeah.
Or, you know?
Do you think that was a product of the football at the time,
Yes.
though? Because it's, Guardiola's arrived
Yes,
in the Premier
that's
League.
exactly what it.
everyone's
And look
trying
at
to play
Arsenal
sexy
now.
Football.
Everyone's still trying to do that. And Arsenal are like, we're just scrappy, dirty, set pieces, all the things. And
That's
the
my
stuff.
club.
Raheem, you gonna
That's
show
my club.
Raheem, you gonna show
It's
with the
true,
air
though.
raid siren to Emirates?
I'm
Last day of the
bringing that. I'm bringing that.
They
Gabriel.
still have good players, by the way, and they
Yeah.
can still pull off some plays, but most of it's just gritty, and
Yeah.
nobody's been playing against that.
Right.
You
Dude,
know,
well-
so they just don't know how to deal with it.
You watched the Carabao Cup final. It was interesting how Pep seemed to have like an aha moment at halftime where he just pulled the front four guys off him and just like, we're going to let him have the ball and see if they can break it
Yeah.
down. And
Yeah, we're not
they
pressing
could
him.
not.
Yeah.
Declan Rice like would not go to get the ball. They
Yeah.
couldn't advance it at all. And it was like, wait a minute, like have we just been missing this the whole time this whole season where you can just let them play and they can't? Like that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Are you kind of worried that might happen to you lot? I mean, obviously this year, knocking on wood,
Mhm.
you're going up, you're sorted. But maybe at higher levels, or do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but
People could be more
also
ready.
when you're the challenge when you're like behind the curtain when you're scouting a team and you're going into a game, your options are we have our identity and we do what we do. If you try to change that and your players are not used to it, you don't train that, then it's like a bit of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
So the question always is like, do we stick to what we are and what we do and just try to be good at it, or do we try to counter what they're doing and figure out how we're going to tactically change? I was never good at that. Like David Moyes is elite at that.
Mm.
When he gets the team sheet in 20 minutes before the game, he'd say, "Okay, guys, come in. Phil, you're going to start a little bit here. Landon, you're going to." I mean, in the moment, you're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
that's
fuck."
crazy.
And he had players who were used to it and could handle it. So you're always trying to like wage that battle. So with Lincoln City, we are so good at what we do. If another team said, let's just try to play that way, and we're just better at it,
Yeah.
right? So teams are going to do what they do. We're going to do what we do. We've just been better at what we do all year than these teams.
Right.
So it doesn't mean you can't lose the odd game, but 22 in a row.
Not
Still
bad.
haven't lost.
Yeah.
Scoreboard, baby.
Yeah, knock on the table. Are there any examples that you look to where you guys in your like board meetings or where high level front office meetings where you guys like we need to take inspiration from them, or are you guys kind of just doing what works best for you?
Yeah, what works best.
Yeah.
The question, the right question is, how do you make it sustainable?
Yeah.
And so English football's difficult. Like one year you can finish 6th and the next you can finish 17th.
Mm.
And it happens a lot, right?
Yeah.
So a few years ago there was like we might get relegated. We need to be careful and spend some money and whatever.
Yeah.
So I think overall the club direction has been ascending, but there are times where it's iffy. And what you want to get out of is those iffy times. You want to know that like the worst case scenario is you finish 14th.
Right. Whatever.
Not that you finish 22nd.
Right.
Right. And if that's the worst case scenario you get to, and then maybe you get a chance to get into the playoffs or whatever, that's okay. But you got to start from there.
Yeah. I mean, bringing it to the USMNT, right? You think that there are lessons from what you guys are doing that like national federations can take away? We're talking like setting a standard, building an identity. Is that something that-
Identity is anything in life.
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
at the best companies in the world. They have a really clear identity, really clear leadership. Everybody knows what the values are, what the mission is, what the ethos are, who their customer is, who they're speaking to.
Mm.
That's not just a soccer thing.
Yeah.
And it's exacerbated in soccer because you're judged every week. Every week there's another data point. Oh, we got it right or we got it wrong. We got it right or we got it. In companies, it's like, okay, well, when the quarterly earnings come out, we'll know, or at the end of the year, or when our stock hits a certain amount. But the best companies in the world have clear identity and the culture is fantastic. And at Lincoln right now, those two are off the charts.
Yeah.
Just to push you on the US thing, not too much though, but like
Oh yeah, can we learn? Yeah.
but what can you learn? And then also like, how then do you counter the fact that the data points aren't always the best? Let's put it that way.
Been terrible lately.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
You're like trying to be politically. It's like,
No, but the
so-
challenge, here's the challenge, right? So you're English. In England, small country, small country, there's a common goal and a common desire for the national team to succeed because it helps everyone. I know the media is rough and stuff like that, but everyone, as a general statement, wants it to succeed, right? In America, it's such a massive country, and we have a lot of people who know nothing about soccer, who get an opinion on soccer and have influence in soccer. And so it's really hard to find commonality, because if I went and asked a youth soccer coach, if I had a conversation with a youth soccer coach from pick wherever in America,
Yeah.
half the time that coach thinks they know more about soccer than I do. And I mean, and they really believe it.
They really
Yeah.
And right? Am I wrong? And they'll say, I don't think so. They'll say,
Why is that though?
it's just, because they have like power in their little like fiefdoms that they run and whatever. The parents are beholden to them. The kids are beholden to them. They just think they're powerful in these. They have a seat on the U.S. soccer board, or they're one of the member associations who gets to vote on things. And so they feel like they're as influential as the commissioner of MLS.
Yeah.
Or
Raheem,
and it's crazy.
You always talk about that when we talk about coaching a couple episodes ago, being like, dude, I have the same 5 coaches just rotating around the different parts of the federation, different age groups or whatever, and you're like, it's the same thing every time. They're all friends. There's never any like changeover or new ideas.
Never, man. Like you would rarely see like a young coach. Like I'd always seen that these coaches all knew each other from like either playing university soccer together or coaching professionally. But Landon, it is kind of like American soccer feels kind of like a boys' club in a way, and it kind of feels sad because then you lose those ideas. You lose that new coach. Like Brighton has like what a 30-year-old coach in his 30s, right? Fabian Herzerler.
James Milner's older than
Oh
him.
yeah, James Milner's older than him.
Incredible.
Like, in American soccer, you rarely see like, well, Landon got the opportunity, but you rarely see like new coaches stepping in and coming in with new ideas that are accepted by anybody else. Can you believe that this guy, Landon Donovan, a coach from the middle of Columbus, Ohio, who coaches a youth team, will think they know more than Landon? But it's the truth. Like, if you can't tell these parents how to develop kids, imagine telling them like that's a system or something that needs to be changed.
Trying to create that identity if they don't even agree with you on the basics of like how to run a practice. Yeah.
So really quickly, and because I'd be remiss not to ask you this, what is the identity then of the U.S. men's national
Don't
team?
have one.
Yeah.
I can tell you what it used to be.
Okay.
It used to be, I'm going to go all over here, but the starting point was people used to hate to play against us.
Right.
Other national teams would hate, and they would think in their head, we're better than them. We're better than the U.S. But I don't want to play against them today because it was going to be a battle.
Yeah.
Like they knew what they were getting. What's happened over time, and I'm psychoanalyzing here, but is we've gotten much better. Our players have gotten much better.
Yeah.
Technically, physically, skill-wise, but we've lost a lot of that. And so now when we play Belgium, we think that we can play that way. Guess what? It's just what we were talking about, like with Lincoln City.
Yeah.
They're just better at it. They have better players. If you went spot for spot on the field, I'll take Belgium's player 1 through 11 over ours.
Right.
Every player. So we can't do that. You're not going to win that way. It's impossible.
So maybe that is the learning, right? It's just knowing kind of your back to Lincoln City. It's like knowing your place, knowing your level.
Absolutely.
And then
Knowing what your
advantage of
identity is and knowing
Executing.
and if guess what happens, like if that same mentality, I'll use my 2002 World Cup team. If that same mentality existed in this group of talented players, there's big potential.
You're proper. Yeah.
Like proper potential.
Yeah.
I'm not saying win a World Cup, but like, okay, we're getting closer.
Cause some noise. Yeah. How do you guys set that identity? Like, where does that come from at Lincoln City? Is it a specific person? Is it like the board being like, this is how we're going to play and everybody's on board or you're out? Like, how do you guys get that set up?
Yeah, that's been an evolving process with Jez and Michael Scubala. So Jez runs the football operations and Michael's the head coach. And Jez did a really good job consistently speaking with Michael, pushing him to like develop what we want to be. And I think that takes a lot of work, but it helps Jez because then he knows what players to go recruit. At one point, they were asking me about players from outside of England who might be able to come in and help. And at one point, I was like, maybe Diego Luna's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
And then Jez said, we researched, we watched, we scouted the data, and like I think it'd be hard for him in this league.
Right.
And then I'm like, yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe that's an exciting idea, a national team player but if it doesn't work in what we do and who we are, then it's not worth it. Right?
You fit the players to the system, not the other way around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you ever have to put your ego aside a little bit with that, if you don't mind me?
I just mean in general. You should see at home. Jeez. Look, I know what I don't know. They're in it every day.
Yeah.
So what am I going to tell Jez, who now has this team that spends 17th on top of the league, or Michael Scubala?
Yeah.
They're clearly doing it right.
You just got to let them cook.
If there are things that are so obvious that I say, have you thought about this? Because this is something I see. I'll say it. But what am I going to tell them?
Yeah.
Be like, what do you know about Real Salt Lake, guys?
Yeah, exactly.
You never did it on a cold night at FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the last things I want to touch on is like the growth of the EFL and EFL fandom in the U.S. I feel like Wrexham obviously is one that people talk about a lot, but a lot of my friends, speaking anecdotally, are really invested in these like smaller clubs. Like I'm wearing a Torquay United shirt. My roommate, I'll wake up on a Carabao Cup or FA Cup weekend, and he's like, "We're watching whatever the smallest club you can think of playing against a championship team or whatever." How do you think you guys are impacting fandom of lower league clubs in the U.S.? Because you guys have a lot of connections to American sports.
Yeah, we're trying hard, and look, the Wrexham story is very unique.
Yeah.
Nobody has what they have because they've created a cultural icon around their club, right? So that's unique. And they have two owners who are wildly famous, popular, and have done a great service to the game, to the Welsh people, to people from Wrexham.
Yeah.
I think people are not ever going to get fed up with the Premier League teams, right?
Yeah.
Like that's always exciting. But what's interesting is in our country, you see it a lot too. Even lower league teams in America, Portland Hearts of Pine.
Yeah. Tom, massive Portland Hearts.
Oh my God, yeah. What a club?
AC
I'll text
Boise.
her around
Like
there.
I grew up.
Tom writes all these like niche USL stories. All of these, he's like, oh my God, AC Boise mentioned.
Well,
Yeah.
I grew up going to Boise. I have family there,
Really?
right? So like now, and my old head coach is there. So I'm
Yeah.
like fully. I met the Portland Hearts of Pine people, and I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool,
Oh,
and
yeah,
people
you
like
are.
it, and it's unique, and it's different. So the sport is growing enough where that becomes interesting now. So our job is to keep promoting it like this,
Yeah.
and keep making people aware of it. By the way, lots of Americans are investing now in the EFL. Lots. and
We have
lots.
so much money in the U.S. and people love like putting their capital into sports. But you can't get into an NFL team unless you are a billionaire with a capital B.
Same with the MLS though. You can't even
MLS?
get into
Was it
MLS. What is it?
500 mil?
500 million?
For-
Well, by the
Yeah,
way,
that was a few years
even if
ago,
you're a
so.
billionaire, you can't get into an existing team.
Right.
They don't want you. They
Good
don't
luck.
need you.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone has to be willing to sell
Right.
you their
So this
stake.
is somewhere that you can
You're
start
like,
investing.
"Oh, I got $10 million and I'm trying to get into sports. Like I could buy a League One side and compete financially with the rest of the clubs there, which I think is interesting.
That's right.
I think that every time a new like soccer fan is born in the U.S. or someone becomes interested in the game, learning about promotion relegation, they're like, oh, this is sick. Because we don't have an equivalent to that in the U.S., but I always describe it to like non-soccer friends as like minor league baseball is probably the closest equivalent that we have, right?
Sure.
Like the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, imagine they do really well in a season and they go up and now they're playing against the Dodgers and the Yankees and all these other teams every week. The Yankees have a bad season, God forbid, for my Yankees fandom, and they go down and all of a sudden they're playing against like the Somerset Patriots in
That'd be
Jersey.
amazing.
I'd enjoy
Right?
that.
Like, yeah, all the Yankees haters are like, like maybe we should do that.
I don't give a shit, but
But-
that would be funny.
Right.
But
Aaron
it is-
Judge, could he do it?
It's
on a
part
night
of
in
what
Des
makes
Moines, Iowa.
it's part of what makes particularly the Premier League and the Championship and League One so exciting because you when you go to the stadium, you know that every game matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this country, baseball is the worst. I mean, every game could not mean less.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
true.
Right. It means nothing. And the fans could care. I mean, as long as, and it's a great entertainment product. And I love going. The Padres are amazing and all.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't mean anything.
Right. It's like when you go to a baseball game, you're like, I'm doing the 999 challenge today.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
really
yeah.
caring. You guys, you know what that is?
What's 999 challenge?
Okay. It's 9 hot dogs and 9 beers in 9 innings.
I'd back myself.
Yeah. You think you like go on a
That
run
is so
beforehand?
disgusting.
That's insane.
I have a
I
buddy
thought
who
this
made
was
it
gross.
7-7, and then had to excuse himself
Use the restroom.
from the running. Yeah, which the Mets though at Citi Field, they're doing an official 999
That's
box
so
where
gross.
for like $55 you can whatever. This
Americans
is just notes
are
for
so dumb.
listen, like Lincoln, I know you guys are watching this. Americanize the fan experience a little bit. 90, you know, think of something that you
9
eat
pints.
yeah, 9 pints
I
every
think it
every
would
10
have to
minutes
be-
have one.
Yeah, it would have to be pies, wouldn't it, or something?
9
like that.
pies,
More
9
pies.
pints
In
Yeah.
90 minutes.
over 90 minutes.
I think people could do people might be doing the 9 pints in 90 minutes already, just from like baseline.
Yeah.
I think you underestimate the power of the English football fan.
All right, that kind of wraps everything that I think we want to talk about. But the last thing to put a bow on everything is like the ceiling. I know you guys talked about your goal. You want to build that identity. You want to be sustainable. You want to have that baseline of being like a club that the fans are proud of.
Yeah.
What do you think that your ceiling is? Like, could we see Lincoln in the Prem one day?
Sure, why not? Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, if you need the investment in the championship, for sure. I mean, the Wrexham story is a good example, right? And Birmingham's a good example of such. There comes a time where the fastest and easiest way to get there is to spend more than everyone.
Yeah.
So I kept hearing, like, friends would come up and like, have you seen Wrexham when they were in League Two?
Yeah.
What a miracle they went to League One. And I got, that's not a miracle.
Landon, I want to shake your hand, mate. I'm so sick of this shit.
I mean, look, I'm happy for them, and I'm glad that it's happening, and it's good for everybody, but it's not a miracle. It's not a miracle that they're spending 3 times everyone else in League Two and get promoted, or 3 times everyone in League One and get promoted. It's not a miracle, but it's great, but it's not a miracle. So the ceiling, of course, there's you need the investment, and you at some point you need more investment from somebody to help push. But I think the immediate term future is stay in the championship and become a staple in the championship the way Lincoln City has been in League One.
Yeah.
And then you can start dreaming, right? And crazy things happen. Things are possible. You make the right signings like this year, and you have a year like this year, you end up in the Premier League.
Yeah. You guys have a dream signing? This could be unrealistic. Like you personally, you're like,
Dream
man,
signing.
I wish Christian Pulisic would come play in Lincoln.
Like a realistic one,
Let's
or
go
like
for
a non?
realistic, and then one that's like,
Diego Luna.
yeah, and then one that's maybe like a far shot, but who knows? Maybe one day towards the end of somebody's career.
I'll tell you what, I would take one of the like Haji Wrights or Patrick Ajamongs for
That'd be
sure.
dope.
Yeah,
wouldn't
for
it?
sure.
Yeah.
And why? I don't know how long their deals are and all that, but that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Raheem, send Haji a text.
Yeah.
Make that happen.
Bro, I might have
He's your
something
best
for you.
mate, huh?
Yeah, we all grew up together in residency, man. So
Okay.
Like, Haji's my good boy. You know,
It's weird. I asked him if he knew you, and he said, "Who?"
Nah, he wouldn't say that.
Reed's like, dude, I got some for you. I just need 10%.
I just need that. I just need that.
I
How
just
come,
need a cut.
how come you
Yeah.
never pull through?
And a seat in the family box.
That's what I'm saying. But no, it's actually, I think, like to Landon's point, like these players are possible if you get them at the right stages of their career. Like
Yeah,
Haji came from
absolutely.
Turkey, bro. Like
Yeah.
that's credit to Coventry for scouting over in Turkey, seeing he was doing
That's
a
right.
level there, and his game translated. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna be soon. Like we're talking about Americans, like Zayn Okoro, who we were talking about earlier on the show, as a younger brother of my friend. We both went to University of Virginia. Zayn came up through the Lincoln City Academies on loan to a team in Northern Ireland, but he might very well come back next year, you know, in preseason of a championship level club. And if he's performing in preseason, we'll see, you know, an American playing in the championship. But that's all goes to say, like, you never know which players are coming through at these clubs. And like American players, you're starting to see more often are going to be a part of the plans for a lot of major
That's right.
clubs trying to make it to higher divisions. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's not just going to be, you know, in Germany anymore. It's not going to be just going to like, you know, innocuous countries. Like, we're going to England, you know what I'm saying? Going to the championship and hooping. Like,
we
Haji
really
Wright is
out
what,
there.
the leading scorer of the championship right now?
Yeah.
Or
If
he's
not,
the
he's up
first
there.
or
or he's
second.
among there? Like,
Yeah.
could you imagine that? Like, back in the day, we were talking about Josie struggling to get even service at Sunderland in the Premier League. Now we got Americans, you know, scoring in the championship, being the top level
Right.
goal scorers.
Everybody
You
was
never know.
yelling at me in our Instagram comments a couple episodes ago. We
Oh,
did an episode
God.
that was- yeah. See,
Yeah.
Tom was one of the guys who was yelling at me. I said that I think that if the U.S. continues on our current like progression and development, building out the infrastructure, building out that identity, our player pool and athletic talent pool in the U.S. is so big that eventually we will be competing for World Cups with the likes of Brazil, Spain, whatever.
But only if we do a better job developing our kids.
yeah, exactly.
And that starts
but that was the argument. And
That's
Tom was like,
exactly what.
Because
I
the
said.
way
never get that, mate. You don't love it. You don't
the
love
way
it.
it is now, it's going to stay the same forever.
Yeah,
Stay
right.
the same.
With those changes, maybe we got a chance. But I think that all
We
the
do have a
Americans-
chance with that's the
Right.
only change needed.
Right. But we do have all these Americans playing the championship, playing the Premier League at a much higher quantity than we've had before, which is super,
Agreed.
super exciting.
So
Yeah.
it's made a jump, but
getting there.
still a long way to go.
Landon, thanks for coming on, man.
My
This is
pleasure.
really
This
great
was
stuff.
fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Love
you
it.
so
Shout
much.
out to Imps. Do you guys have like a fan saying
Up the Imps.
Up the Imps.
Up the
Up
imps.
the imps.
Up the Imps.
Up the imps.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Rondo. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.